Hello everyone, I'm Agrim Manjola. Today me and my group will be giving a small presentation on email encryption. With the advent of the 21st century, email has become the prime medium for communication between businesses. With more and more sensitive information being sent across the internet, email encryption has become a must. In this presentation, we'll be going over some of the most commonly used email encryption protocols as well as looking at their merits and demerits. We'll also be looking into some of the new up and upcoming encryption protocols that might potentially replace them. TLS or transport layer security is the basic encryption protocol used by most of the email services. It encrypts data for the transport layer, but not the message itself. It can be thought of as talking openly on a secure telephone line. The protocol consists of two parts, TLS record protocol and TLS handshake. TLS record protocol provides network security using two properties. The connection is made private with symmetric cryptography using algorithms like AES, RC4, etc. And the connection is made reliable, or the communication data integrity is assured using keyed MAC. TLS handshake is usually done before any message is sent across the internet, and it provides three properties, which are peer identity can be authenticated using asymmetric key cryptography using algorithms like RSA, DSA. The negotiated shared secret is secure, or in other words, the secret session key is encrypted before being sent, and the negotiation is reliable, or once again, data integrity is assured. TLS is easy to implement, therefore, it is used almost everywhere. The main drawback of TLS is that it is not end-to-end encrypted, and your email service provider could look into the contents of your email if they want to do so. To overcome such a vulnerability, we can use S-MIME, or Secure Multipurpose Internet Mail Extension. This this protocol provides end-to-end encryption and can be thought of as sending a message to a friend in code, which only your friend can understand. SIM uses hash functions, public key cryptography, and symmetric key cryptography to achieve security. The basic structure of S-MIME can be boiled down into 5 steps. These include creating a message digest or a hash to be used to form a digital signature. We generally do this by using SHA-256 or any other hash algorithm. We then encrypt this message digest to form a digital signature using RSA or any other asymmetric cryptographic algorithm. We then encrypt the session key for transmitting the message, and we also encrypt the message using this session key, which is done so by using AES, triple DES, or any other symmetric cryptographic algorithm. At the end, we also create a message authentication code. This is generally done using HMAC with SHA-256. The pros of S-MIME would be that it provides both data security and non-repudiation of the origin, and it is relatively more secure than TLS since encryption and decryption takes place on the devices of the sender and receiver itself. The main drawback of S-MIME would be that it is a bit difficult to set up since each user will have to first install an individual certificate from a certificate authority. And for an email to be sent, both the receiver and the sender must have this certificate. Now I'll hand it over to Yingpeng to tell you a bit more about PGP.
Hi, I'm Yingping. The email encryption I'm going to talk about is the PGP, which is short for Pretty Good Privacy. The PGP was designed by Philip Zimmermann in 1991 to protect the user's privacy. So, Mr. Zimmermann is an activist. He also fought for the human rights. So his email is always got stealed by any third parties, such as the government and FBI. So he just designed this kind of protocol to protect his privacy. So this PGP is one of the pioneers in the email encryption and is still widely used now. So in the PGP, it utilizes both the symmetric and asymmetric encryption. So firstly, it will have a session key, which is temporary only for one transaction. Then it will just encrypt the plain text using the symmetric encryption with this session key and get the encrypted message. Then they will just use the asymmetric encryption on the receiver's public key to encrypt the session key, and then we can get the encrypted key, and then we can send both the encrypted session key and the encrypted message to get the encrypted email. When the receiver gets the encrypted email, it will first decrypt the session key with the private key it has, and then you can use this session key to decrypt this encrypted message on the symmetric encryption to get the plain text message. The reason why it encrypted the session asymmetric the session key instead of encrypted the whole message using the asymmetric encryption is that the asymmetric encryption takes a lot of resources, which is not feasible if you have a very large email content, and it will take a lot of money and time to decrypt the message. So instead of the encryption of the full message, it's just encryption the session key, which will make it much easier and faster to decryption and encryption. So as we can see, there are many advantages in the PGP. The first one, it can provide the end-to-end protection, which will provide secure over the transaction in the network and stored on the server. Another one is that the PGP uses a trusted model, and it also provides the option of the signature process, which will eliminate the need for relying on the intermediate trust system. However, the PGP has its advantages because it is very difficult to use for average users, so it is very rarely used outside the developers community. To illustrate this, I made a small experiment. In the experiment, I sent an email from one of my email box using PGP to another one. So I used the Protomail, which claims to be one of the most convenient PGP encrypted email provider. So before I send the email, I need to remember to attach the public key first, and then I press send. When I receive it on my Outlook email box, I will get both the message and the public key. The public key is used for me to reply this email, and then so I can get the email encrypted. But as you can see, for an average user, he won't know what PGP is, and he won't know what this one used for. He will just directly press reply and with the email on the plain text. So that's why this is not very widely used right now. So the next one we are talking about is the identity-based encryption. Let's introduce Eric.
Thank you, Yingping. Several new techniques have been proposed since PGP and S-MIME. The first technique we'll be looking at is the identity-based encryptions. This type of system do not rely on traditional CA to authenticate public keys. Instead, public keys are generated through participants' identities, such as email addresses, which are usually publicly known. However, these type of schemes require a key generation center to generate and distribute private keys, which creates a key escrow problem, in which if the KGC is malicious or compromised, the whole system will be compromised. Which is why the Cloud GKA certificateless one-way group key agreement was proposed. Cloud GKA does not rely on PKI and has no key escrow problem. It still have a KGC, but it does not store the private keys, hence a compromised KGC will not grant the attackers the ability to decrypt the message. It also requires no handshake, which is perfect for email as recipients are not required to be online. It also designed for n-party messaging, which has a group encryption key that is derived for individual keys. The next technique is the proxy re-encryption. PIE takes a ciphertext that could only be decrypted by A, re-encrypted it in a way so that B can now take the new ciphertext and decrypt it themselves without revealing any relevant information. The conditional identity-based broadcast proxy re-encryptions combine several ideas from the previous PIE schemes. Conditional grounds the sender to have a fine-grained user access settings to their email. Identity-based is an idea we have already talked about, which is generating public keys through their publicly available identities. The broadcasting ability means that the scheme will generate a fixed size ciphertext for a group of recipients. No matter how many of them they are in the group, or the ciphertext will be fixed, which is different from PGP. Other techniques include quantum teleporting. This is the technique that take advantage of the quantum physics, establish a safe channel by simply measuring and checking entangled photons. It has potential to be a lot safer than the current method and a lot more efficient. Confidente is a key-based method linking your private key to a social media account. It is in theory not a very safe method, but is easy to use and it could be used for raising awareness about email encryption. In conclusion, both PGP and S-MIME are well-established but old schemes. Many new innovation and improvements has already been proposed. The most prominent one is the certificate list and the in-party broadcast features. Security awareness is still a big issue. Only 38% of the emails sent by lawyers in the US in 2019 were encrypted. We need to raise more awareness to people about email encryption so they would start using these wonderful system. Thank you. That is our presentation. Thank you very much for listening. We will now open the floor for any question.